Right now, major corporations are actually paying influencers to, film themselves on shaky cell phones.
Yeah, just wandering around their offices.
Exactly, just walking around exposing their coworkers' annoying habits.
Yeah,
We're talking about videos where someone literally complains that Dave from accounting chews his almonds too loudly.
right. The toxic trait videos.
Yeah. And here is the truly wild part. That shaky, unscripted, completely bizarre video is driving more sales and building more brand equity than, like, a $10 million studio-produced Super Bowl ad.
I mean, it sounds completely absurd on the surface.
It really does.
But when you look at the underlying mechanics of the economy we're sitting in right now, it is actually the most rational strategy a business could deploy. The polished, flawless corporate pitch is just officially dead.
Welcome to the Deep Dives. Today is Saturday, March 14th, 2026, and we are stepping into a digital landscape that has completely, inverted our expectations of technology.
Completely inverted them, yeah.
Because we used to think the goal of technological progress was total, frictionless perfection. We wanted the static gone.
We wanted everything smooth.
Right. But because artificial intelligence has completely taken over the flawless execution of almost every digital task, perfection has become cheap. It's automated. It costs $0.
And as a result, we, the human beings on the other side of the screen, have developed this severe, almost desperate psychological allergy to it.
We really have. We are aggressively demanding the noise back. We want the mess.
We are craving friction, and our mission today is to figure out how you, the listener, can actually navigate and thrive in this radically rewired ecosystem.
So to do that, we have to look past the anecdotal feeling that things are changing. We need to look at the exact hard numbers governing how humans research, build trust, and actually spend money today.
Because the numbers are what really tell the story here.
Exactly. And we've got a phenomenal stack of sources to guide us through this. We are unpacking a bleeding-edge, expansive March 2026 Strategic Intelligence Report on digital media marketing.
It's a massive document.
It is. And to bridge the gap between theory and practice, we are combining that with Google's internally validated prompting best practices framework.
Right, because you need the application side, too.
We are going to map out these massive tectonic economic shifts and then give you the literal step-by-step instructions on how to command the AI to help you survive it.
But before we get into the psychology of why we all suddenly want messy, chaotic content, we really have to understand the sheer macroscopic scale of the playing field.
Right. The internet has hit a critical mass that fundamentally breaks the old rules of communication.
Well, critical mass doesn't even quite capture it. The intelligence report gives us the foundational metric for early 2026. There are currently 5.66 billion active social media users.
Wow.
Yeah, that is nearly 69% of the global population.
7 out of every 10 human beings on Earth are logged in and participating in this ecosystem. That is staggering.
It is. And when you have a room with 5.5 billion people shouting in it, you can't just buy a bigger megaphone. Volume just doesn't work anymore.
So the sheer density of information has forced the market into what this report calls the strict bifurcation of marketing labor.
Yes. This is the great split. For the last 20 years, humans tried to do absolutely everything.
We really did.
We tried to write the copy, guess the algorithms, manage the ad bids, publish the posts, analyze the spreadsheets.
It was exhausting.
It was impossible. But that era is over. The bifurcation means there is now a hard, unforgiving, dividing line between execution and strategy.
Okay, let me guess. The machines took the execution.
Completely. The AI and intelligent agents now handle the content generation, the campaign deployment, the programmatic bidding. They handle the real-time A/D testing.
So they're just running the engine.
Right. They optimize delivery routes at computational speeds. They do it infinitely faster and cheaper than any human marketing department ever could.
Which leaves us with the other side of the split. If the robots are running the printing presses and optimizing the delivery routes, the human domain is now exclusively relegated to strategy, emotion, and trust building.
Exactly. We are out of the volume game entirely. We are strictly in the trust game now.
And nothing illustrates the sheer difficulty of the trust game right now better than a specific statistic in this report that absolutely stopped me in my tracks.
I know exactly which one you were going to bring up, the 272 days.
Yes, the 272-day marathon. The report analyzed over 66 million user sessions, specifically looking at the B2B buyer journey. So business to business.
Right. Companies buying software, services, or infrastructure from other companies.
All right. The average sales cycle now takes 272 days. That is up from 211 days just a few years ago.
It's a massive increase.
It's practically a 9-month pregnancy. And the baby is a purchasing decision.
Hmm.
I mean, what is actually happening during those 9 months? Why is the friction so incredibly high?
Well, the friction is high because the stakes of making a wrong decision in a hyper-complex tech environment are basically career-ending.
Right. You can't just buy the wrong enterprise software and say, oops.
Exactly. The modern buyer journey isn't a guy looking at a brochure and shaking hands with a salesman on a golf course anymore. It now involves an average of 88 distinct digital touchpoints across at least 4 different platforms.
88 touch points.
And, crucially, it requires consensus from up to 10 different stakeholders within the purchasing company.
Wait, let's just pause and visualize that. 10 people have to agree. You have the end user who actually needs the software,
Right.
the department head managing the budget, the IT security officer who is terrified of a data breach, the legal team reviewing the compliance, the procurement officer negotiating the contract.
It's a huge committee.
Getting 10 people to agree on where to order lunch is a nightmare. Getting them to agree on a multi-year enterprise contract, no wonder it takes 272 days.
And here's the most paradigm-shifting part of those 272 days. It's what the report calls the self-education phase.
Okay, walk me through that.
Out of that 9-month cycle, the prospective buyers spend the first 220 days over 7 full months, educating themselves entirely in secret.
7 months.
Yes, they are consuming digital content, reading peer reviews, watching technical breakdowns, and observing your brand's behavior before they ever formally fill out a contact form.
Or before they ever speak to a human sales representative.
Exactly.
So they're basically ghosts. For 7 months, you have no idea they are even evaluating you. This completely obliterates the classic corporate dynamic where the marketing team just makes the slides look pretty and the sales team actually closes the deal.
The data invalidates that old dynamic entirely. If the buyer is spending 220 days making up their mind based purely on the content they find online, the transaction is overwhelmingly won or lost before a sales rep even knows the prospect exists.
So marketing isn't just a support wing anymore.
Not at all. Marketing is no longer a peripheral support function or a cost center. Marketing effectively owns 81% of the entire buyer journey. It is the core sales engine.
Which means the platforms where you choose to establish your presence and spend your capital matter immensely. You can't just throw spaghetti at the wall.
You really can't.
The report breaks down the empirical return on ad spend, the ROAS, for these enterprise cycles. LinkedIn is currently delivering a staggering 121% ROAS.
And it's capturing 41% of all B2B paid social budgets.
Google Search sits at 67%, and Meta is down at 51% for this specific enterprise context.
And if you look at the psychological mechanics of that 272-day journey we just discussed, the LinkedIn dominance makes perfect logical sense.
Because it's a trust architecture.
Exactly. Meta is undeniably brilliant for immediate consumer discovery. You know, buying a pair of sunglasses or a new gadget.
Right, impulse buys.
But when you are a mid-level manager trying to convince a committee of 10 anxious executives to sign a $2 million software contract over the course of 9 months, you need a platform built entirely around professional authority.
You need deep industry context and sustained asynchronous education.
Right. LinkedIn provides the verifiable identity and peer validation required to reduce that career-ending anxiety.
But this brings up a massive logistical contradiction. If these buying committees are spending 220 days secretly educating themselves, where are they actually finding the answers to their hyper-specific questions?
That's the billion-dollar question.
Because let's be honest about the reality of the internet in 2026. Traditional search engines are dead.
Very much so.
The idea of typing a question into Google and getting 10 blue links to click through is just a relic. We are firmly living in a zero-click world.
The zero-click search phenomenon is arguably the most structural shift we've seen in the distribution of human knowledge since the hyperlink.
It's massive.
When a user types a query today, the AI integrated into the search engine generates a highly sophisticated, comprehensive summary right at the very top of the page.
It just gives you the answer.
Yes. It synthesizes information from dozens of sites, gives the user the exact answer instantly, and as a result, the user never clicks through to the source website. The traffic stops entirely at the search bar.
I have to push back on the viability of this for the creator, though. I get why it's great for the user. It's super fast.
Right.
But if I spend weeks researching and writing a definitive guide on, say, supply chain logistics, and the AI just reads it, summarizes it, gives the user the answer, and I get 0 clicks, 0 website traffic, and 0 newsletter signups, I mean, how do I win?
It's incredibly frustrating for creators.
Aren't businesses just having their hard-earned intellectual property strip mined by these AI models without getting any of the economic reward?
Yeah.
Why would anyone keep publishing?
That is the exact existential panic that gripped the marketing industry a couple of years ago. It feels like a total loss, but only if you are measuring success by the outdated metric of website traffic.
Okay.
In a zero-click world, raw traffic is a vanity metric. Association and authority are the new traffic. You have to pivot your entire mindset from SEO, search engine optimization, to AEO, search everywhere optimization.
Search everywhere optimization. Okay, break that down for me mechanically. How does a brand survive without traffic?
You have to remember the 220-day self-education cycle. When the AI generates that beautiful summary at the top of the search page, it still cites its sources. It attributes the frameworks and the data.
Oh, right, the little citation links?
Exactly. Your goal is no longer to get the user to leave the search engine and visit your blog. Your goal is to ensure that your brand's unique point of view is the one the AI relies on to build its answer.
So you are basically trying to colonize the AI's brain.
In a way, yes. If a buying committee is searching for complex answers over 7 months, and every time they ask a question, the AI summary says, according to the framework developed by your brand, or based on the latest data from your brand, you are accumulating massive compound mindshare.
You become the undeniable authority.
Right. When day 221 arrives and they are finally ready to talk to a human, they don't search for a generic solution anymore. They search directly for your company by name.
Wow.
You didn't need them on your website for those 220 days. You just needed them to associate your brand with the definitive answer.
That fundamentally changes what kind of content a business should be making.
Yeah.
The strategy can't be churning out reactive, generic blog posts like top 5 cloud computing tips every Tuesday.
No, that stuff is useless now.
The report emphasizes this massive shift toward building evergreen content libraries. Businesses are using deep consumer insight tools, things like Answer the Public or Google Search Console, to map out the exact, granular, highly specific anxieties of their buyers.
Precisely. You aren't writing top-of-funnel fluff. You're discovering that your specific buyer is secretly awake at 2 a.m. searching for, how does hybrid cloud architecture affect data sovereignty compliance in European healthcare facilities?
And you are building a definitive, deeply researched, heavily opinionated answer to that exact query.
You have to stop acting like a daily newsroom chasing clicks and start acting like a specialized educational publishing house.
And here's the kicker. Brand voice is now a vital technical ranking signal for the AI.
It really is.
If your content reads like a sterilized corporate textbook, the AI treats it as generic background noise. It blends in with your competitors.
Right. There's no differentiation.
But if your content has a strong, distinct, heavily branded point of view, it forms a distinct node in the AI's training weights. It stands out. But Google isn't the only search engine we need to worry about optimizing for. The report argues that Facebook has undergone a quiet architectural mutation. It isn't a social network anymore.
It really isn't. The platform we knew a decade ago was based on a social graph. Your feed was dictated by the people you explicitly chose to be friends with or the pages you explicitly followed.
Like your actual friends and family.
Facebook has entirely abandoned that model. It is now an AI-driven interest graph. It does not care who you went to high school with.
It cares about what you linger on.
Exactly. It cares what your micro-behavior is. The lingering of your thumb on a video, the specific keywords you pause on suggests you subconsciously want to see. It is a predictive search engine.
The data supports this shift completely. Nearly 40% of social media users, and this is heavily skewed toward Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are using Facebook specifically to research local businesses, read community reviews, and discover products.
They aren't going to Google Maps to find a contractor or a coffee shop. They are typing it into Facebook search.
Which means businesses have to execute local SEO tactics right inside their casual social posts. You need hidden alt text on your images, highly visible on-screen text in your videos, and captions written in natural query-based language so the AI knows exactly who to serve your post to.
And while we are talking about where people are actually communicating and searching, we have to address the phenomenon that is quietly terrifying the analytics industry. Dark social.
I love that term, dark social. It sounds like a covert ops division. What exactly makes it dark?
Well, dark simply refers to the analytics void. It's untrackable, encrypted, private communication.
Oh, okay.
The report notes that a staggering 52% of consumers are now building their communities and making their recommendations in these dark spaces. We are talking about private Apple Messages threads, encrypted WhatsApp broadcast channels, closed Discord servers, and exclusive invite-only Facebook groups.
Which maps perfectly back to our 10-person buying committee.
Ex-
They aren't going on to your company's public LinkedIn page and debating the merits of your software in the comments section for all their competitors to see.
No, of course not.
They are taking a screenshot of your pricing page and dropping it into their private, encrypted Slack channel to rip it apart where you can't see them.
Exactly. The real 220-day evaluations are happening in the dark. For you as a brand, this means you have to fundamentally shift how you value engagement.
You can't just count the like.
You cannot chase public vanity metrics like likes or shares anymore. You have to actively cultivate content that is designed to be screenshotted.
That's such a great way to put it. Designed to be screenshotted.
You have to create private, high-value groups for your best customers, rewarding them for deep engagement rather than broad reach. You have to seed the dark social spaces with undeniable value.
Okay, let's take a breath and connect the dots here. We know the AI is smart enough to intercept our search queries with zero-click summaries. We know it's smart enough to predict our desires and curate our interest graphs on social media. If the machine can read, summarize, and predict, well, it stands to reason it is getting smart enough to do more than just act as a librarian. And this brings us to what the intelligence report frames as the absolute biggest, most disruptive technological leap of early 2026.
Agentic commerce.
Agentic commerce, the moment the machines become the customer.
This is the monumental shift from AI as an information provider to AI as an autonomous economic actor. Agentic commerce is an ecosystem where AI agents are granted the agency to independently conduct market research, negotiate complex pricing, and execute binding financial transactions on behalf of either a corporate entity or an individual consumer.
I know this was the entire central theme of the Shop Talk Spring 2026 conference in Vegas. The banner was literally retail in the age of AI.
Everyone was talking about it.
Retailers, B2B software companies,
Yeah.
everyone is having to radically restructure their operations because they are waking up to the reality that their primary customer over the next 5 years isn't going to be a human. It's going to be a piece of software.
We are already seeing the corporate adoption layer solidify. Look at what Shopify is doing. They are natively injecting ad placements directly into conversational interfaces like ChatGPT.
Wow.
And the monetization model is entirely performance-based. They only pay when the chatbot successfully recommends and converts a sale for the user.
But buying a t-shirt through a chatbot is just the surface level.
It's just the beginning. The intelligence report dives deep into the decentralized cryptographic infrastructure that is actually making true autonomous agentic commerce possible at scale. Specifically, a standard called ERC 8183 on the Ethereum blockchain.
Okay, hold on. This is where you need to walk me through the mechanics because I think a lot of people hear the word blockchain and they immediately think of crypto bros trading pictures of apes.
Right, it has that stigma.
Why on earth does an AI agent need a blockchain to buy something? Why can't the AI just use my corporate Visa card?
It's a great question, and it comes down to trust, liability, and the fundamental nature of an autonomous script. An AI agent is not a legal entity. It cannot be sued. It doesn't have a credit score.
Right, you can't take an algorithm to small claims court.
Exactly. If you give an autonomous agent access to a centralized corporate credit card with a $50,000 limit, and it hallucinates or gets manipulated by a malicious seller, it could drain that account in 4 seconds. Traditional banking infrastructure requires human identity verification. KYC, know your customer.
And AI agents don't have human identities.
No, they don't.
So they need an environment where the transaction itself is mathematically guaranteed without relying on human trust or legal recourse.
Precisely. That is what ERC 8183 provides. It was co-developed by Virtuals Protocol and the Ethereum Foundation specifically to create a trustless, math-based execution environment for machines.
Yeah.
It removes the need for a centralized corporate gatekeeper like a bank or a massive platform like Amazon to act as the middleman holding the money and taking a 3% cut.
The report breaks down how this protocol operates, using what they call a tri-party job structure. You have a client, a provider, and an evaluator.
Let's invent a visceral scenario here to explain it.
Good idea. Say I run a logistics company, and my AI agent determines we need a highly specific, real-time satellite weather data set to optimize our shipping routes. My AI is the client.
Right.
It scours the decentralized network and finds another AI agent belonging to a meteorological firm that is selling exactly that data set. That agent is the provider. How does the money actually change hands safely?
Under the ERC 8183 protocol, your client agent takes the agreed-upon funds, let's say it's equivalent to $5,000, and locks it into an immutable smart contract on the blockchain. The money leaves your wallet, but it doesn't go to the provider yet. It is held in cryptographic escrow.
Okay, so the money is sitting in a transparent, unhackable vault.
Hmm.
The provider can see the money is there, so they know I'm good for it.
Right. So the provider agent delivers the massive weather data set to your systems. But who decides if the data is actually good? Your client agent wants to keep the money, and the provider agent wants to get paid. This is where the third entity comes in, the evaluator.
Another AI.
Yes, an independent third-party AI oracle that is written into the smart contract from the beginning. The evaluator's sole job is to audit the delivered dataset against the hyperspecific technical parameters defined in the initial contract.
So it's checking the homework.
Exactly. Was it delivered on time? Is the latency under 10 milliseconds? Is the data structure correct? If the evaluator mathematically verifies the delivery is perfect, it triggers the smart contract to instantly release the funds to the provider.
And if the provider AI tried to pass off corrupted data or hallucinated the formatting?
The evaluator flags the failure, the contract aborts, and the $5,000 is automatically instantly refunded to your client agent. No human accounts, payable departments arguing over invoices, no chargebacks, no net 90 payment terms. It happens at computational speeds, fully autonomously. And over time, these AI agents build public, immutable, math-based reputations on the blockchain based on their successful execution rates.
That is just mind-bending. But what does it mean for the listener? Am I going to have a personal, localized AI bot sitting on my phone, ruthlessly haggling with a corporate airline bot over the price of a flight to Chicago while I just sit back and drink my coffee?
Eventually, yes, that is the trajectory. But the immediate implication for businesses right now is the complete removal of human friction from the transaction layer.
Think about what we discussed with SEO and AEO. Historically, marketing and sales have been entirely focused on human psychology. How do I make this landing page emotionally resonant? How do I use color theory to make the buy button irresistible?
But an AI agent doesn't care about the emotional resonance of your hero image. It doesn't care about your clever copywriting.
Right, it just wants the specs.
Exactly. In the era of agentic commerce, you are suddenly having to convince logical, hyper-rational, math-driven machines to purchase your products based entirely on raw data variables, API performance history, and smart contract parameters.
It fundamentally forces businesses to maintain two distinct storefronts: the emotional, narrative-driven storefront for the humans who set the strategy, and the raw, structured data storefront for the agents who execute the purchase.
And you can see the legacy financial institutions absolutely scrambling to adapt to this. They are terrified of being left behind.
The intelligence report mentions these massive, persistent, exploratory rumors circulating in early 2026 about Stripe potentially acquiring PayPal. And the strategic reasoning isn't just a traditional market share roll-up. It is specifically aimed at capturing this emerging agentic wallet ecosystem.
It makes total strategic sense. PayPal has the foundational peer-to-peer infrastructure. They have Braintree for complex enterprise routing, and they have the entire buy now, pay later consumer psychology mapped out.
And Stripe sees the future, where billions of AI agents are trading with each other at light speed.
Exactly. They want to ensure their infrastructure serves as the default underlying fiat to crypto payment rail for the entire agentic economy.
It is a profound structural rewiring of global commerce. The execution of perfectly logical, mathematically sound, entirely frictionless buying is being handed over to the machines.
It is.
Which brings us to what I think is the most incredible, counterintuitive paradox of this entire deep dive. If the machines are taking over the perfectly logical, frictionless acts of buying, optimizing, and summarizing, you would naturally expect the human side of our side of that bifurcation we talked about to become highly polished, perfectly optimized, and robotic too.
You'd think we'd be trying to outperfect the machines.
Exactly. But surprisingly, the exact opposite is happening.
This is what the industry is calling the authenticity premium, and it stems from a very basic economic principle. Scarcity creates value. Because perfection is now fully automated, and critically, because it costs absolutely $0 to produce a flawless, grammatically perfect, beautifully lit piece of AI content, perfection has lost all its signaling power.
It's completely devalued.
Human beings have developed a severe, almost physiological allergy to it.
The report specifically points to the demise of the studio-perfect corporate video. Let's rewind even 5 years ago. If you were a serious company and you wanted to explain your new software, you hired a production crew.
You spent a fortune.
You had a three-point lighting setup, a teleprompter, crisp lavalier mic, cinematic B-roll, and royalty-free ukulele music. It signaled that you were professional and well-funded. Now, audiences have absolute ad blindness to that high production value.
They don't even see it.
When a user scrolls past a perfectly polished explainer video on their feed, they don't see authority anymore. They see an intrusive, performative pitch. They instinctively swipe away.
The psychological mechanism driving that rejection is vital to understand. When a consumer sees something highly polished today, their brain inherently knows two things. First, a machine probably generated a lot of it. And second, if humans were involved, a massive amount of effort, money, scripting, and legal review went into aggressively manipulating their perception of reality. It creates an immediate psychological distance. It feels suspicious. It feels like a trap.
Conversely, the market is aggressively, disproportionately rewarding what we call lo-fi, feed-native content.
Lo-fi, low fidelity.
This is the shaky cell phone video I mentioned at the top of the show. We are talking about founders recording talking head videos while walking to their cars, squinting into the sun. We're talking about casual screen shares where you can actually see the messy files on their desktop.
Unscripted moments.
Unscripted moments where the speaker maybe stutters, loses their train of thought for a second, or uses filler words.
The subconscious equation the user makes is this. Low effort equals communicative, spontaneous, and honest. High effort equals performative, calculated, and suspicious.
So a CEO filming from their kitchen island is a strategic move.
When a CEO films a quick, slightly poorly lit video from their kitchen island to explain a new product feature, it removes all the artificial corporate barriers. It signals vulnerability. It says, I am a real human being, not an algorithmic avatar, and I am speaking to you directly.
It's the brands as entertainment era. We've moved from B2B and B2C to H2H, human to human. The report highlights the Duolingo effect. They were arguably the pioneers of this entire shift. They took a fundamentally boring product, a language learning utility app, and turned their brand into this self-aware, chaotic, deeply weird, slightly menacing entertainment entity on social media.
They completely abandoned rigid corporate communication to generate these polarizing, uncomfy conversations.
And that uncomfy feeling generates deep cognitive stickiness. If a brand relies purely on logical product feature comparisons like, our software is 12% faster than the competitor, they're instantly forgotten.
Or worse, their logical messaging is easily scraped and replicated by an AI agent.
Right. But if a brand generates a visceral emotional reaction, even a slightly confused or amused one, they bypass the logical filter. They capture mindshare long before the 220-day self-education cycle even begins.
And businesses are rapidly learning how to scale this vulnerability. There are these massive viral frameworks sweeping through corporate marketing right now that exist solely to aggressively humanize the corporation.
Look at the reign of tests and audio trend. Executives are showing themselves doing nonsensical, chaotic things in the office under the guise that their social media manager is losing control of them.
Or the toxic trait chain, which you referenced earlier.
Yes, where team members playfully expose the mild, highly relatable bad habits of their coworkers. Sarah's toxic trait is leaving empty LaCroix cans on the conference table. Or Dave's toxic trait is insisting we use a matrix when he clearly means a spreadsheet.
It is a deliberate, highly calculated subversion of rigid professionalism. You have to look at the demographics driving this. Gen Alpha is establishing what we call chaos culture as the default tone of the internet.
Chaos culture.
Yes. And millennials and Gen Z, who now make up the bulk of these B2B buying committees, are heavily prioritizing content that reflects a realistic, somewhat cynical work-life balance over the relentless, polished corporate hustle culture of the 2010s. The social algorithms reward this vulnerability because it perfectly matches the emotional state of a user who is scrolling through their feed during a liminal moment.
A liminal moment, like standing in an elevator, waiting in line for a coffee, or commuting on the train.
Exactly. They are in an in-between space, feeling slightly disconnected, and they want to connect with another flawed human, not a corporate press release.
But here is where it gets really fascinating to me. This demand for friction and imperfection isn't just isolated to the digital screens. It is physically manifesting in the real world.
It's bleeding over.
If you look at the macro search data from Google, in June 2026, there are these massive, unprecedented spikes for highly textured artisanal materials in fashion and home goods. The search volume for crochet shirts, for terry cloth, for fringe and heavily textured fabrics is absolutely off the charts.
That is a phenomenal connection. The physical world is directly mirroring the digital sentiment.
We are treating perfect, smooth digital video the exact same way we treat cheap, smooth synthetic fabrics. Nobody wants the polyester video anymore. We want the digital equivalent of a crochet shirt.
We want to feel the texture.
We want to be able to clearly see the human stitches, the uneven tension, the friction, and the mistakes. It proves it was made by hands, not a machine.
Craftsmanship, texture, and tangible friction have become the ultimate premium markers of value in a world of infinite, costless, smooth automation. If you want to command a premium price, you have to show the human hand at work.
Okay, so we know what we need to make. We need to make digital crochet shirts. We need loci, authentic, slightly messy human content that establishes a massive amount of trust so we can survive that grueling 272-day, 10-stakeholder gauntlet.
Right.
But if the goal is to distribute this chaotic human content, we need to know exactly which platforms are actually capturing human attention right now. We can't just shout into the void.
This brings us to the macro search trends and the current state of platform dominance. If you look at global search volume right now, the top 4 destinations completely bypass traditional text-based search engines.
Completely bypass Google.
Yes. Number 1 globally is YouTube. Number 2 is WhatsApp Web, which ties perfectly back into that dark social encrypted community trend we discussed.
Wow, WhatsApp is number 2.
Number 3 is Facebook, confirming its role as foundational local predictive infrastructure. And number 4 is Translate, highlighting the frictionless, borderless reality of globalized agentic commerce.
But the real engine of discovery, especially for the younger demographics who dictate the cultural cadence that the rest of the market eventually follows, is TikTok. It has completely transcended its origins as a viral lip-syncing app. It is a primary utilitarian search engine.
The intelligence report shows that 50% of all social media users globally are on TikTok, and for Gen Z, it's 72%.
But it's the duration metrics that are staggering. The average daily usage is 1 hour and 37 minutes per day on Android devices alone. That outpaces YouTube.
It is the undisputed number 1 channel for top-of-funnel product discovery for anyone under the age of 35. And more importantly for marketers, the algorithmic architecture of TikTok drives an average engagement rate of 3.70%.
Which is huge.
In the context of social media, 3.70% is astronomically high. It massively outperforms the industry average across other networks. It is the ultimate awareness engine. But while video dominates, there is another major unexpected disruption happening in the text-based space.
Yes, the microblogging war. Meta's Threads has officially surpassed X, what we all used to call Twitter, in mobile usage. The report puts Threads at 141.5 million daily active users, compared to X dropping to 125 million.
It's a significant flip.
But the report highlights something crucial here for anyone trying to build an audience, the arbitrage opportunity.
This is a vital strategic window for brands. Threads has rapidly amassed this massive, highly engaged audience. It leans heavily toward a male 25-34 demographic, but currently only 12% of professional marketers are actively utilizing it for campaigns.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here. Let's look at the reality of a marketing team. We already established that LinkedIn is delivering an incredible 121% ROAS for B2B enterprise. We know TikTok is eating the entire top-of-funnel discovery for consumers.
Right.
Is it actually worth your time, your very limited human bandwidth, to spread yourself thin and jump onto a new text platform like Threads just because there is a temporary arbitrage window? Doesn't that just lead to burnout?
It absolutely leads to burnout if you just copy-paste your corporate press releases over there. But if you understand the goal of an arbitrage window, it is essential. The value isn't just getting cheap impressions because ad space is underpriced.
What's the real value then?
The value is the ability to build entrenched brand equity before corporate oversaturation inevitably ruins the platform experience. Early adoption in a conversational, text-heavy space like Threads allows you to establish that exact uniquely human point of view, that cognitive stickiness that we've been talking about.
So you get in early and be weird before everyone else shows up.
Exactly. By the time the other 88% of marketers show up next year and flood the platform with sanitized, AI-generated corporate speak, you are already deeply embedded as a trusted, native, slightly messy voice in that community.
It's the digital equivalent of buying real estate in a neighborhood before the subway line is finished. You plant your flag while the land is still cheap. But honestly, zooming out and listening to everything we've covered, Navigating multiple platforms, managing a 272-day sales cycle across 88 touchpoints, auditing Ethereum smart contracts for agentic commerce,
It's a lot.
building evergreen content libraries for zero-click search, and doing it all while carefully maintaining a lo-fi, perfectly imperfect crochet shirt brand voice. It is an impossible logistical burden for a human being. A human marketing team would collapse under the weight of it in a week.
It is mathematically impossible to execute manually. And that brings us full circle back to the bifurcation of labor. You cannot survive this landscape using human brute force. You have to let the machines do the heavy lifting, which means you must master the technology stack and, more importantly, master the ultimate human skill of 2026, prompt engineering.
This transitions us perfectly into our second primary source, Google's official prompting best practices framework. But before we get to the actual art of talking to the AI, the intelligence report briefly touches on the MarTech stack, the underlying marketing technology infrastructure. The era of buying massive, bloated, all-in-one software suites from a single vendor is completely dead. We are now firmly in the era of composable MarTech stacks.
Yes, the economic pressure has forced companies to audit their tech stacks ruthlessly. They are tearing out the monolithic systems and keeping only modular, API-driven tools that deliver explicit, measurable ROI. And with the final absolute death of third-party tracking cookies, data strategy has moved entirely inward. First-party data platforms and specialized customer data platforms, or CDPs, are no longer optional.
If you don't own the direct data relationship with your customer, you are flying blind.
The report specifically mentions Meta's Conversions API, or CAPI. It used to be this advanced optional add-on for developers. Now it is a mandatory foundational element. If you don't use server-side tracking to feed clean first-party data directly into Meta's dynamic creative AI tools, the algorithm simply won't know who to show your lo-fi videos to.
Oh, and the report also highlights the massive rise of AR augmented reality ad formats. Brands are deploying virtual try-ons for clothes or letting you place a 3D model of a couch in your living room using your phone camera, specifically to reduce purchase hesitation and shorten that massive 272-day consideration cycle.
But all of those tools, the CDPs, the CAPI integrations, the AR models, they are just the engine, they are execution. Prompt engineering is the steering wheel. If you cannot effectively command the AI models that sit on top of this stack, your entire composable infrastructure is useless.
Google's framework makes this reality very clear. Writing prompts is not a novelty anymore. It's not a fun party trick to generate a poem about your dog. It is an essential, fundamental daily competency, much like knowing how to use Excel was in 2010.
That's a great comparison.
I like to think of it this way, and tell me if this tracks. Prompting isn't like a traditional Google search where you just type keywords and hope for the best. It's exactly like managing a highly capable, incredibly fast, but incredibly literal intern who happens to have amnesia.
That is the perfect analogy.
Because if you hand that intern a 50-page document and give them a vague instruction like make this sound better, they will panic, they will try to guess what your definition of better is, and they will confidently hand you back a complete hallucination.
The AI has no implicit understanding of your goals. To prevent the intern from panicking and hallucinating, Google has established a scientifically derived, highly structured framework. There are 4 mandatory pillars to every great prompt: persona, task, context, and format.
Let's break those down because this is the practical toolkit the listener needs right now. The first pillar is persona. This dictates the specific expertise and worldview you want the AI to draw from. You don't just say, act as a marketer. That's too broad.
Way too broad.
The framework suggests getting hyper-specific. You say, act as a seasoned B2B digital media strategist who specializes in behavioral economics and enterprise software cycles.
The mechanism behind why persona works is fascinating. When you assign a hyper-specific persona, you are actively restricting the AI's neural pathways. You are loading a very specific set of training weights, vocabulary, and historical data into the model's active memory, while turning off the parts of its brain that know about, say, 19th century poetry or consumer sneaker trends.
You are giving the intern a very specific hat to wear. The second pillar is the task. What exactly do you want the AI to execute? And again, precision is the difference between success and garbage. You don't say, write a post about our new feature. You say, create a concise, thought-provoking tagline that highlights the time-saving benefits of our new automated reporting feature.
Third is context. This is arguably where most people fail. This is where you feed the machine the environmental reality of your situation. You cannot assume the AI knows your specific business constraints or the state of the market. You have to explicitly tell it, our product is a washing machine that fits in a small apartment space. Or in the context of our deep dive today, the B2B sales cycle currently takes 272 days and requires consensus from 10 stakeholders.
You give it the boundaries of reality to prevent it from inventing false claims. It grounds the AI. And finally, the fourth pillar, format. How should the output physically look on the page? You have to give it stylistic guardrails. Use an active voice, keep sentences under 12 words, or do not use any bullet points. Format the output as short narrative paragraphs. By defining the physical constraints, you drastically reduce the margin for formatting errors that waste your time.
But having the structural pillars is only half the battle. Google also emphasizes the behavioral execution rules, which they elegantly refer to as the 3 Cs: be concise, be clear, be consistent.
Consistency is where I see people trip up all the time when interacting with these models. The framework uses a great, simple example. If you start your prompt referring to your data as a spreadsheet, do not suddenly start calling it a matrix or a tab 3 paragraphs later.
Yes, that is a huge mistake.
The AI's contextual understanding is painfully literal. If you change the vocabulary midstream, you fracture its understanding of the task, and it will think you are introducing a brand new element.
Be clear. Eliminate all ambiguity. But what happens when the literal intern still gets it wrong? Because they absolutely will. The models are probabilistic, they roll the dice every time they generate a word. Google says you have to embrace the art of iteration. When you get a bad output, you don't just throw your hands up, declare that AI is useless, and go back to a blank Word document. You iterate. You break complex tasks into smaller sequential steps. You apply tighter constraints.
You coach the intern. And when you find a prompt structure that finally works perfectly, you save it. You build a personal prompt library so you aren't reinventing the wheel every single morning. But there is one crucial, non-negotiable rule regarding how these models process information, what they call context windows, that we have to cover. You must always start a new chat for a new topic.
This is a critical technical hygiene practice. The context window is the amount of active memory the AI retains in a single conversational thread. It remembers what you typed 10 minutes ago. If you spend 20 minutes deep in a chat brainstorming the highly technical legal parameters of an upcoming product launch, and then in that exact same chat window, you ask the AI to help you write a casual, lo-fi script for a chaotic TikTok video, the AI's memory is heavily polluted with the technical jargon and the legal anxiety from the previous task. It will cross-contaminate the tones and give you a wildly inappropriate, overly formal TikTok script.
New task, new chat. Keep the operational environment completely sterile. Let's tie this all together because the intelligence report actually provides a meticulously engineered prompt designed specifically to be copy-pasted into an AI. It perfectly combines Google's 4 pillars with all the bleeding-edge 2026 data we've discussed today to generate a piece of content.
Let's walk through the anatomy of this master prompt. It is a perfect synthesis of strategy and execution. It begins by establishing the persona. Act as a seasoned B2B digital media strategist who specializes in behavioral economics.
Then it dictates the task. Your task is to write a highly engaging, thought-provoking LinkedIn post aimed specifically at enterprise media marketers.
Then it meticulously loads the context. It doesn't ask the AI to guess the state of the industry. It feeds the AI the exact hard stats we just spent the last hour covering. It explicitly states, the B2B buyer journey now takes 272 days. Buyers spend 220 days in self-education. Marketing now owns 81% of the pipeline. LinkedIn drives 121% ROAS. The perfect corporate video is dead, and the era of agentic commerce means AI is handling the buying. It packs the model's active memory with pure, undeniable facts.
And finally, it layers on incredibly strict, unforgiving format constraints to ensure it sounds like a human being and not a robot. The tone must be authoritative but slightly contrarian. Do not sound like a robotic AI. Use short, punchy sentences, maximum of 3 relevant hashtags, no bullet points under any circumstances, and avoid overused AI buzzwords entirely, specifically words like delve, landscape, or tapestry.
When you look at a prompt structured like that, you realize that prompting is the new foundational programming language. By combining the 4 pillars with hard empirical data and strict negative constraints, the AI builds the perfect, structurally sound vehicle for your message. But the payload inside that vehicle, the actual meaning, That remains your uniquely human perspective.
The AI executes the structure flawlessly, which frees the human up to focus entirely on the strategic tension, the emotional friction, and the messy authenticity of the core message. Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of our deep dive today. If you look at everything we've unpacked, we are living right now in this massive, tension-filled dichotomy.
It is the defining paradox of the decade. On one hand, the execution of digital work, the distribution of content, and even the physical economic act of purchasing are becoming hyper-automated. Agentic commerce and Ethereum smart contracts are turning buyers into cold, rational algorithms. Zero-click search engines are endlessly summarizing the world's knowledge into neat little digestible paragraphs.
But in direct, visceral response to that hyper-automation, human identity, brand strategy, and the mechanics of trust building are becoming hyper-humanized. Because perfection is cheap and automated, we are actively discarding the studio lights for lo-fi, shaky smartphone video. We are playfully exposing our toxic traits on the internet. We are searching for crochet shirts, terry cloth, and tangible friction to prove that we are still real.
Your greatest professional asset in 2026 is no longer your ability to be flawless. Flawlessness is a commodity. It costs $0 and an AI can generate it in 3 seconds. Your greatest asset is your authentic, slightly chaotic, deeply relatable, uniquely human point of view.
And when you take that messy human perspective and you amplify it and distribute it using an expertly prompted AI, that is how you win the 272-day marathon. It is the ultimate collaboration. You let the machines handle the flawless logic, and you let the humans handle the connection. Which leaves us with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive. If artificial intelligence is fundamentally destined to handle all of our flawless logic, our perfect negotiations, and our frictionless execution, will the entire future of human connection, and frankly, human commerce, rely solely on our shared mistakes, our weird quirks, and our toxic traits? Are our flaws the only things that will keep us valuable to each other?
It is a profound existential question. If perfection officially belongs to the machines, then humanity is defined entirely by the mess.
And on looking around the internet today, I think we are all pretty exceptionally good at being messy. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning the polished surfaces, and whatever you do, keep your prompts concise. We'll catch you on the next one.